Amazing to be back here for another session of Chizuk at Work, which is this amazing opportunity. I know I appreciate being here every single week together with you, and we've gotten some really, really nice feedback from chevra that are out there in the workplace, spending hours and hours, whether it's on a ladder painting, whether it's behind a computer screen. Baruch Hashem, there's many opportunities to be involved in Hashem's parnasa, and we need Chizuk. Today's question, which I'm excited to speak about because the last couple of weeks we've been touching upon the theme of the times that we're in, which is so important to pay attention, not just to Chizuk that we need just being out there in the workplace, but Chizuk specifically because of the time of year. We're right now in Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashana. The shofar reminds us each morning. And today's question is a question we've heard throughout the years from our fans, from our B'nai Chabura, and it's very, very real. And thank you so much for asking this question, because those of you that are listening right now, you're going to feel validated. So what's the question? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, here it is. Help me. Why? Because I feel guilty that when it comes to Rosh Hashana Yom Kippur, when it comes to the Yomim Noraim, I feel guilty being there in shul and davening for money, davening for wealth, davening for my Gashmius. So help me to be able to get rid of this guilt, which is on my consciousness during davening, throughout Yom Tov, before Yom Tov. How can I approach davening for Gashmius on the Yom Noraim in a healthier, guilt-free way?
And as well, what was the question that you said before, which is a very important question? About davening for Ruchnius.
Well, yeah. I mean, that might be
Rosh Hashana.
It's a question really, I guess the person who's asking the question is feeling guilty about davening for his Gashmius, because I guess what's underneath that question is the person says,
davening for your Ruchnius
davening
is
for my
okay.
Ruchnius is okay, davening for my Ruchnius, I feel good with, right? He doesn't feel guilty davening for his Avodas Hashem, for his Avos Hashem, for his Limunat Torah, that's fine. But what the guiltiness is, hey, this is Rosh Hashanah, this is Yom Kippur, everyone's wearing white, we're out here in shul, and I'm davening for dollars, or shekels, or pounds, or rand. I don't know, other countries exist. Okay, let's go.
Yen.
Here we go.
It's that's based on the Gra. The Gra writes, should we daven? What should we daven for? So really,
meaning you're saying
on Gashmius, everything is within. Everything is within tefillah. So whether you have to daven for anything. Ruchnius.
What the Gemara is saying, that davening for Ruchnius is a problem too?
I'm saying davening for anything personal could be a problem, according to the Gemara.
Okay, so the person who asked this question, you should feel guilty for davening for your Ruchnius too. Okay, we're done.
We're done?
But how's... Finish? No, not yet. Don't leave yet, Rav Gerzi. Okay, so then what are we doing at Rosh Hashana, and how can we help this person feel guiltless davening for his money?
We could speak about what we spoke about last night as a potential...
In the Chabura.
Yeah, in the Chabura, the work-inspired Chabura, whether it's a potential opening to a question, and it's really to include as well, somebody actually from last night's conversation sent a message.
Right, I saw that message.
But it's
amazing that we have that opportunity during the Chabura, that people are able to not just listen, but then be able to communicate, and we love these conversations.
Yeah, and I was running around with kids, and hopefully the answer that was given is, I don't think this person was wrong. What they're saying is 100% correct. I probably didn't express clearly enough the rightness of what they were coming with, which is to do with this as well. So number one is to pull back and maybe to start off by saying, in the derech of Avodah that we share, in our Beis HaMedrash, there's 3 shifts to the derech of Avodah. One shift is to do with beliefs. And it's to believe that Hashem created a good world, and Hashem wants us to have a good life in this good world. The second belief is split up into 2. It's to believe in your own goodness, and to believe that you have the koyach, you have the gifts of creating the life that you want. And the second part of that is believing in Hashem's goodness, and that Hashem wants to support you in the life that you want to live. And again, this is all based on Chazal, it's based on a Medrash, and then 2 Bavlis. That's the first point of our avodah, to adjust our beliefs. The second pivot is to understand the tikkunim of our generation. What do we need to mataken in our generation? So So in our generation, we need to metaken. If you look out at the world, and this was discussed with a number of tzaddikim, we want to metaken in our world the following. First tikkun is physical and mental health. We want to really upgrade our physical and mental health. Second tikkun is based on the Arizal, which is Hod, Netzach, and Yisod. We want to metaken the virtues, being conscious, deliberate practitioners of gratitude. Gratitude opens up the door to hope and optimism, and the love child, the union of Hod and Netzach, gratitude and hope and optimism, births resilience. So there are three things that we really need to work on and open up. With those two, then the third tikkun, everyone speaks about the Nakuda of Achdus, Tanya, Lamed Beis, Leiv, to love somebody. But the reality is you need to be guided into, you have to have a derech, just as we have a derech halimud, and just as we have a derech in learning halach, you have to have a derech in avodas Hashem. So we're sharing our derech, but as well a derech to be led into Achdus. Achdus is very important. And the fourth tikkun is that of the world of the physicality. To understand that we live in a physical world, and to really understand what physicality is. The embodied practices, we'll go back to that tikkun in a minute, but the embodied practices, the third shift, the embodied practices to adopt the beliefs and the tikkunim, we have the divine plan, Derech Hashem, architecture of the soul to do with consciousness, and we have Das, we have the Arbi Yisaidus, where pilznoworkinspired is the Yisaid of financial health. You have physical and financial health, which is the first Yisod. Then you have relationships, then you have wisdom, knowledge, creativity, and the fourth Yisod is guidance and spirituality. So Pilsner, the work-inspired Chabura, is one of the Arbi Yisaidus, it's financial health. But shift back up to the second Nakuda of Tikkunim. And the last part of that, which we said, is understanding the physical world. So really, if we think about it, and I want to articulate very clearly here to make sure we don't miss anything out, we want to bring the Bara Olam into this world, and we want to have a deep connection with the Bara Olam. So it's two ways. We want to bring Hashem into this world, but we want to be able to touch the infinite. We want to have that experience as well. It goes both ways. And we've spoken about in other places where we are a physical being having a spiritual experience? No, we are a spiritual being having a physical experience. So we are an alien, as Savasari Vash tells us in Vav, we are an alien coming down to this world. We are what we call neshama and consciousness, and we come down into this physical world. And really, at the end of the day, mitzad the makabel, mitzad the receiver, all we have is physicality. Physicality is the lens. Physicality is the lavush in which we understand and bring around anything and everything. So even when we're speaking about the world of Ruchnius, it's in terms of speech to do with physicality. We speak about warmth. We speak about connection, close or far. So the lens in which we relate to spirituality is through physicality and physicality only. Because all that we have, misad the makabel, that's all that we have. We don't have anything else. And we can't go anywhere else. And even if we have a spiritual experience, it'll always be translated through the body. The body is the lavush that will absorb that experience, and you will feel it in your body. So the body is physical or spiritual, the body is physical. So your lens of perception, wherever you look in regards of language, in regards of spiritual experience, it's only through the physical. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we know from the Medrash Tanchuma, Parshas Nasai 16, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants a dwelling place. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to live in our world. So what does that mean? Well, if you think about it and you pull back rationally and logically, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be known in the physical world. But more than that, the only world HaKadosh Baruch Hu can be known in is in the physical world. So it's not too much of a jump to recognize that when we're crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu King, what we are in fact saying is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I live in a physical world. And we brought this in Parashas Chayesara, that it's up to us to reveal Hashem in the world. Hashem needs our help. The way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs us. Without us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not known in this world. Kapshutai. So Avraham Avinu tells us in Parashas Chayesara. If you remember the psukim of Gimel and Vav, and it's radical for certain people because they don't necessarily dwell on the words. But what Avraham Avinu says is that until I came around, Hashem wasn't known. So Hashem created a physical world. And the reality is, Hashem needs us. And Hashem can't be known without us. Ein melech bli am. And where is Hashem being known? In one world and one world only, not the spiritual worlds. Not the spiritual. One world and one world only, the physical world. I think that's rational. I think it's rational. It's definitely worth a conversation. Maybe people would want to challenge that. But if we don't megale Hashem in the world, Hashem is not known in the world. If everyone, Khalil v'chas, stops serving Hashem, who's going to know Hashem? So it comes to share with us that number one, Hashem needs us, and it comes to share with us that Hashem needs us in this world, in the physical world. So it comes to share with us the way that we can crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu King is by saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu amongst the Ruchnius, to say, Hashem, give me the spiritual things I need in order to reveal you in the world.
The physical.
Yes.
Meaning it sounds that if ultimately on Rosh Hashana, as opposed to, let's say, for example, just to throw out there, Shavuos, right? Even though Shavuos is obviously connected to physicality as well. We know, if we think about what the theme of Shavuos is about Kabbalah Satorah, right? The focus is on Kabbalah Satorah on Rosh Hashana, and often what happens is that because of Elul, where there's so much of an emphasis on fixing ourselves and thinking how we could become better people, sometimes that can overflow into Rosh Hashanah, which is, we've gone through Elul, now we show up at Rosh Hashanah, and we could think this is just a continuation. Well, ultimately, with Rosh Hashanah, when we look through the tefillahs themselves, and I think this is really what the Gra is speaking about, are we even asking for anything personal? Because it's a day of being Mamlech Hashem. Now, once we're being Mamlech Hashem, well, what does that mean to be Mamlech Hashem? So what we're hearing over here, and we're discussing and really putting out there for you, you're welcome to share your comments, is that being Mamlech Hashem is being Mamlech Hashem in this world. It's bringing down Hashem in this world. There you go, down in that world. You saw it just to make sure for the effect you guys would see down in this world. That was obviously planned. But ultimately what we're looking to do, right, and this is what Rosh Hashana is about going this annual renewal of Hashem's project called this world. And us being, we spoke about this last night, us being Hashem's employees, right? You could have a CEO without a company. Okay, where's that going to go, right? So you have the Hashem who obviously is powering us and empowering everything that we do. But from our perspective, and what we want to be thinking about as we go through Rosh Hashanah, and our main focus on Rosh Hashanah is, it's not about, am I going to be better in Shmiras HaLashon, and it's not about my Ruchnius and about my Limud Torah. It's about Hashem. Look at the words of Tefillah. That's what the words of Tefillah are telling us. We Mamlech Hashem, and we want Hashem's Malchus to be revealed here. And when we want Hashem's Malchus to be revealed here, so when we think about that, so then is it really such a foreign idea that we should be speaking about Gashmius? Maybe it's not any more foreign that it's when we're speaking about Ruchnius. Really, ultimately, the whole mahus of the Torah and all mahus of especially what we're doing over here in Work Inspired is understanding that they're connected. There isn't this world of the Ruchnius and the world of the Gashmius. Ultimately, Hashem's vision was a world of integration.
Tashuv hey, returning the hey. Integration. That's how we translate in our community. A return to innocence, integration. It's this very important akuda.
Right. And
Adam and Chava, when Adam and Chava ate from the tree, they created a shift, a separation. That was never meant to be. The separation is not natural.
That's where the separation came from.
No, it's not natural.
Right. And I think that it's Rav Gerzi just mentioned over here, this chait of Adam. I think that was a big a shift in the way that our world exists, and I think that nationally, we've in our current state of galus, this has become more and more of a foreign idea. This idea, at the time of the Beis Hamikdash, at the time where things were more integrated, where we were living in the way that we were meant to be living, there was more of a sense. And if you learn anything about the Mizbeach, what was inside of the Mishkan, you had the menorah on one side, you had the shulchan on the other side. You couldn't get around it. Meaning everything was about the Torah in the middle. Everything was about this yichud, between the Gashmius and the Ruchnius, right? The Yom Kippur, the Kohen on Yom Kippur was there davening for Gashmius. He was davening for Gashmius, so you don't have to feel guilty about davening for Gashmius. On Yom Kippur, the height of Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol was davening for Gashmius. Now, why? Because you might say, okay, well, because if I don't have Gashmius, so then how am I going to have any Ruchnius, right? If I'm not able to pay the bills, I can't tell my kids to yeshiva. If I'm not going to have money, I'm not going to be able to buy good children for Shabbos. But it runs a lot deeper than that. When we understand what Rosh Hashana is about, and really what the whole tochnit, the whole program of Yiddishkeit is about, we understand that it's about this integration. It's about this integration. And what I can share with you, as someone who has had the opportunity to be involved in this, my own journey, being out, shifting from just learning Torah into being involved in work and being part of this chabura, this amazing chabura, and the journey we've learned together over the last couple of years, really excavating every topic about parnasa, about money, about work together, is that if you're asking that question, or if you're honest with yourself and feeling a bit more guilty asking for your Gashmius on Rosh Hashana than you're feeling asking for your Ruchnius on Rosh Hashana, if you're honest, if it's just that does feel a bit more guilty, that's coming from somewhere. And what we've seen from conversations with people throughout the years is because at some point you may have picked up a certain belief system that money is dirty, Gashmius is dirty. A person's Gashmius perspective, preferences is something which doesn't have spiritual value. That's coming from the dark side, that's coming from the bad side. So it's kind of like when we're out there and we're davening on Rosh Hashana, it's like, okay, listen, Hashem, I just have to ask for this, just a bit more money on the paycheck so I can pay for my bills. That's the way that many people feel. And what we're sharing over here is that we shouldn't feel that way. We shouldn't feel that way. And if you're feeling that way, it's because you may have bought into a certain belief or a certain idea that you may have read Mar Makom out of context of the fuller picture of everything, which has just grown and grown on you, that's made you feel that your involvement of Gashmius in the world is anything less than a spiritual experience. And this time Elul, this is what we're doing right now in the Chabura. In our Chabura right now, this is what we're using. We're using in our Cheshbon and Nefesh about our relationship with Gashmius, and that's why, Be'ezus Hashem, we're going to be launching Be'ezus Hashem next week. We're putting out for the general public a mini course about aligning yourself for wealth. Now, why in the weeks before Rosh Hashana are we talking about aligning ourselves for wealth? We're putting this out because we know that as we're going to start saying Avinu Malkeinu, right, Parnasa v'chalkala, Kasveinu v'sefer Parnasa v'chalkala, we're going to be davening for Gashmius. So we want to make sure that you daven and you have the kavana when you're davening for your Gashmius with the way Hashem wants you to have that kavana. So we're very excited to be able to gift that mini course. Look out for information how you can sign up. Be'ezus Hashem, right in time for the new year. So we should be able to enter the new year. Any final thoughts about shifts that this person who asked this question could try to bring to his consciousness as he's standing over there in Rosh Hashana to be able to...
No, we need to shift as not just individuals, but as communities, and not just as communities, but as a nation, and not really just as a nation, as a species. We need to shift from exile mentality to redemption mentality. And tashuv hey, returning the hey, as the Ramak tells us, is inclusive of the physicality. And we need to return to an integrated state, which is an embodied experience. And we are the remnants of Adam and Chava, the Adam and Chava experience in Gan Eden. We're the remnants of that. We are matter, we have a body, and we have soul, the spirit. And they work together. They're not a world of separation. They're a world of, they complement each other, and we need them both. We need them both. So Be'ezus Hashem, to shift from an exile mentality to a redemption mentality, and the Yom Tovim should reflect that. Be'ezus Hashem.
Okay.